Well, hello, welcome everyone to Healing Wednesdays and the Circle of 12. I am Lee Carroll.
And I'm Monica Morani.
Well, we are back. Every Wednesday evening of the year, we come together with special guests, questions and answers, discussions, meditations, and channeling. Well, this is our once-a-month free program, so YouTube subscribers, welcome. Also, welcome all of you who are joining us for the first time from anywhere in the planet. And our diagnostics show that there are many of you.
A special welcome to the members of the Circle of 12 who receive one of these programs every single week of the year. And not only do you receive, because you are a Circle of 12 member, we can do these programs once a month for free. So you're giving to yourself and to the planet. And I can't thank you enough. We so love you, beautiful people. But if you're not a member of the Circle of 12 and you follow us on YouTube, well, guess what? This is program number 22. Isn't that amazing? But if you are a member, guess what? This program is number 85. My goodness, how did that happen? So amazing. All of our members receive access to every Healing Wednesday program we've ever done. And the library, as I mentioned, 85, it is building all the time. In addition, the members receive many other extras, including a full index of all our programs.
And of course, the YouTube library is also building. This library never expires, and this playlist is forever. As long as YouTube exists and this channel is here, you can watch these programs as long as you wish. So, YouTube subscribers, take a look at some of the great programs from last year with some very prominent guests.
One of the things we enjoy doing is taking questions from our beautiful community. And so let's move to the first question we want to answer on this particular program. It comes from Olivia. Olivia is in the US and she says, I have aphantasia. It means you cannot visualize. If all I ever see when I close my eyes is darkness, how can I send light to others? I feel like I am broken.
Well, Olivia, it's interesting to me that although aphantasia is listed as being less than 1% of our population, we've had more than our share of messages from those just like you. This is not new to us. It's a very real thing, and most people can't understand why you can't visualize things, but you're not broken, hardly. I know people who can't sing at all. They're not broken either. And now, I can't draw anything more than stick figures, and I have friends who can't believe that. So my visual cortex isn't connected to my hands, I guess, at least not able me to draw well. It's really crazy how different we are. So let's look at this for just a moment. Since you cannot create a mental image, I want to invite you instead to view an actual image with your eyes. When we first started the Circle of 12, we found the perfect image for it. It's a human figure standing in front of a huge glowing circle at night. And that figure is seemingly alone in a vast field. Now, I know you know what it looks like because you're watching this program and you've given the question, but here it is again for you to see. I'm showing it on the screen. Just so you remember it. It's the banner we show all throughout these programs. I would love for you to capture this image on your screen, perhaps even print it out, and then look at it during the Circle of 12. Now, each program features this image for 7 to 10 minutes after the program. That's a really good time to capture this image on your device if you'd rather do it then. You may not be able to visualize, but you can certainly feel things. So while you are watching this I love that. While you're going to watch this printed image that hopefully you're going to make and you have in front of you, I want you to feel loved. Now, that's not a mental image. It's an emotional image. It's an emotion felt while you're watching a real image. So I hope you get this. No matter what we do in the Circle of 12 that night, continue to look at the image that we found through this program and realize that it's you who is standing there in front of that huge circle in that vast area. But around you are you ready? Invisible guides and angels. Things that none of us can see in that picture. None of us can visualize those. It's not in the picture. So we're not broken at that moment in time. We all feel them if we choose. Olivia, you're never alone, and you're not broken. The love that we speak of, it doesn't require you to visualize anything. So just enjoy the love and the message that we have as we very much include you in our Circle of 12 love meditations.
I love that answer, Lee, and it actually reminds me of when I was doing energy work training, and for a long time I could not feel any energy in my hands. I knew it was real, but I felt there was something wrong with me because everyone else in the class could instantly feel energy in their hands, and it took a very long time for me to get to that point where I could feel it. And so we're all unique, which is what Lee was saying. And one of the things in energy work is that you can send it through distance healing sessions. And there was many ways open to us. You could pretend the person was in front of you and doing the session exactly how you would if they were there. But here's something interesting. You could also have a piece of paper with a person drawn on there, and with your pen and pencil, you go through the energy motions that you would do, but it's a different technique. So I love that Lee said to print out that circle of 12. Maybe you can come up with your own way where you put that picture down, and then with pen and paper, you start drawing out rays of light, which represents you on the paper, and now you're sending that out with pen and paper out into any place you want to. So I encourage you to have fun and experiment with your unique way of sending light, because like Lee said, you're not broken, you're never alone, you are included. We're going to take another question from Perry. Perry is in Chicago. Perry says that in the Circle of 12 Theatre, when I ask for the souls of the loved ones to be in the audience, I'm seeing various loved ones and those who have passed. However, I'm also seeing the soul of my mother who is still here. How can that be?
Hello, Perry. This question comes from your trained mind. Now, I can explain that in a minute. We all have this as we grow up. Let me ask you, does your mom only get a soul if she is not alive? Well, when we visit a group of souls in any multidimensional space, especially in the Circle of 12, we visit a very alive source. The condition of a soul might be far more alive than even a human, since it's forever and knows everything. We have been trained by our culture that when we go to the other side of the veil, which is exactly what we're doing in the Circle of 12, we will only see those who have passed. Now, that's very cultural, that's taught by all of us, and that's how we think. To make this very different here for now in the Circle of 12, perhaps something spooky to many, we can also get a vision of ourselves from the other lifetimes, and of course, we're still alive looking at it. So it's all there, since all the souls are available at any time. It shows us just how much power we have to work with ourselves at a spiritual level, even while we're alive on the planet. We have incredible tools like we've never had before. So, one of the things we have taught in the past are things that we're going to do even tonight. So get ready for tonight. So it's just for you.
I love that. I think I love when Kryon feels like Kryon's talking just to me, and then I hear many other people say, no, Kryon's talking just to me. So Spirit knows us so well that we get these beautiful messages for the collective, and yet it feels so personal. I'd like to take one more question before we do meditation and a channel, and this question comes from Serena. Serena is in Romania. Kryon speaks over and over about healers, readers, facilitators, light workers, etc. I am none of them. I'm just a regular human being, and my life is so small, so normal. Is there a place for someone like me in the Circle of 12?
Serena, you're just like about 99% of all of us. Kryon gave a channeling in Arizona in 2016 called 5 in a Circle. I'd like to discuss it, and I hope that you can relate to it. The channeling was a description of the 5 kinds of spiritual categories that most humans find themselves within. It's a circle since there is no hierarchy in the categories. No one kind is better than the other. And some are actually a meld of several of the categories. But it's fun to see the basic 5 categories in their purest form. And it's going to help answer your question. One category was for those who are focused on what they feel they have come to do. They are on a mission. Another group were the authors, healers, and speakers group, like those that you referred to in your question. Another category was for those who just love to meditate for hours and days. These are the prayer warriors and very helpful for the planet. They're good at it. Still another category was for those who felt especially connected to the earth, the tree huggers. And finally, what we call the anchors. These are the ones who anchor the others in the first 4 categories, the light workers who help all of us. So out of all of them, really, only one category contains healers, readers, and facilitators. Most of the planet is filled with those who are powerful prayers or anchors for all of the ones that are here. So, most of the planet, I can say, is just like you. And so many who are watching right now, who are the ones who silently support all of the others, especially me. I feel it. Or maybe you're just there as loving us from a distance. I feel it. These are indeed the light workers. So, Serena, you're a light worker, even if you didn't know it. And you belong right here with all of us. Honest. Thanks for your question.
I remember that channel, Lee, that Kryon gave. And one of the things that I remember Kryon also said in that channel is that even though those categories were quite clear, sometimes we find ourselves a blend as well, because we tend to make things so linear. It has to be either a meditation warrior or a tree hugger. Well, what if you are a blend of both? And that's what I think Kryon was also saying.
You know, it's also, for those of us who feel we're one of those, it's hard to imagine being one of the others. Mm-hmm. And when we first started, I can remember there were some people who wanted more meditation. Yes. And I felt that we had enough for me, because I was not one of those who wanted to spend 2 hours meditating.
Yes.
In fact, I actually would doze off after a certain amount of time. And now when Kryon gave that message, I went, oh, it's just not me. And I had such a respect for all of those others who I didn't relate to. And, you know, in all of our minds and our cultures and all, if we don't relate to something, sometimes we think it's not right.
Yeah.
So I'm just being honest. And so it really gave me an idea of where we fit in.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for anyone who does think that their life is so small, so normal, it is not.
No.
You are amazing. You are magnificent. You are bigger than what you've ever been told. So I'm not sure if anyone's ever told you that, but we are telling you that you are way bigger than what you were told. Your soul is eternal. It had no beginning and no end. And it's hard for us to think about that.
Everyone listening and seeing this now, it's hard to say this, but you can impact this planet with your thoughts, your idea, your compassions, your wisdom. That's what light workers do. I'm assuming that most of you watching this are doing so because you're interested in some metaphysics or some spirituality. And this is what we have. It's a God-given gift, is this wonderful idea that we can change things with what we think. Thoughts are energy. That's now been proven, and we really can. We're all important.
Absolutely. Well, I think all of you watching this now, like Lee said, you are a light worker, and just your very presence can impact and influence things around you. I also have a feeling that many of you watching, like me, enjoy crystals. So I have some beautiful crystals with me this evening. I have my labradorite and clear quartz crystal. And so I'd like to use these crystals as an inspiration for a meditation. Because crystals have gone through a process in their creation. The labradorite, for example, it came from igneous rocks, and it was a process of lots of heat and pressure that you had this metamorphosis of creating the gemstone and the crystal that we see. Our planet is filled with so many different variety of minerals and gemstones and crystals that they have gone through such processes, and even being unearthed from the earth, they go through further processes of being polished and tumbled and smoothed. And so I invite you to contemplate, what kind of pressures have you experienced in your life, and things that have polished you over and over to create who you are right now. Because life is happening for you and with you, not to you. Everything that we experience, we have the opportunity of looking at that experience and being polished by that experience. When we overcome life's challenges, we can truly speak to someone else going through that challenge with true empathy, with direct knowledge, direct experience of feeling. And so I ask you to also contemplate how many lifetimes you may have experienced being on the planet. And how many of those lifetimes did you also receive those opportunities of challenge and change? And that well of experience is carried within the very DNA of your cells. You have a gold mine of wisdom that you can access, that you can pull forward. And so I can hear already the next question: how do I do that? It is through giving pure intent and trusting that you will receive exactly what you need. So let us just ask, dear cellular structure filled with beautiful information of my wisdom, of my Akashic experience, please bring out those lifetimes where I was able to hold wisdom, hold compassion, hold love, hold knowledge, and let those attributes come forward. And just trust that the process has already been initiated, and just observe things that will happen for you in this coming week. And so from that posture of connection and love and support, let us now move into hearing the messages from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is the first channeling of this month. There will be 4, just like always. And in this, we title them. These 4 are going to be the love connection. Dear ones, I cannot speak too much about something that is the core, the seed of the greatest energy that exists. And that is that which comes from the Creator. We'll say this again, perhaps in another channel, but this great love is the image you hear that you are made of. Made in the image of the Creator, and that image is love. And so each one of these channels will feature an attribute of love. All 4 channels available to everyone for free on my partner's website. We're going to start this one with the love from those that you don't see, or those that you think perhaps are even not there, depending upon what you have been told in this culture, depending upon the doctrine that you've learned, pretending perhaps that they're there or not there. What do you think of guides and angels? What do you think of the invisible ones? What do you think of that which some say you're foolish to think beyond yourself, or that you're independent? No one's going to help you. Have you been told that? The opposite is true, and it's true in a manner and an energy that is overwhelming in its truth and its beauty. Dear ones, here is the truth. You don't come here alone, ever. No human comes alone. The soul is something that is a beautiful vehicle that comes with you. It does not stay on the other side of the veil, dear ones. This multidimensionality of your soul is right now sitting in the chair that you are watching this in. It is with you. Now, perhaps that is a little less linear than you wanted to hear, but it's true. And in this soul is you in many forms. That's the multidimensional you. The yous that have been in the past lives that somehow still exist with you. A consciousness that never goes away that is you. And that which we have talked about before, a guide set which comes in with you and is the same every single lifetime. The same guides, the same angelic presence is with you. Some have felt, well, it's an extension of me. You're a bit right about that. They feel like you. They're part of the higher self that you say is you. You cannot separate these things into linear groups and faces and numbers. These belong to you in a multidimensional state which don't have singularity or shapes or faces or numbers, and yet it feels like it. It feels like it because they are so personal. I want to tell anyone watching, this is the first time you've heard of this. I would love for you to sit alone tonight and just call them in. If you're there, show me. Go ahead. And don't be surprised if you allow it and if you mean it when you say it, that there might be some tingling that goes on. And that is a yes. That cause and effect relationship of you opening your heart and asking that question is one of the most beautiful things a human can do. I want you to understand that as they come in with you, there is a tremendous love they bring. The love for you, the soul that you are, the human being in the expression that you are. Their purpose is to help you. That is why they are called guides. They are angelic. You don't see them. You feel them. And in their feeling, they also shape your reality if you let them. They're the ones who are the way showers. They're the ones who will help you to go to the right place at the right time or make decisions through intuition that they will influence, that says this door, not that door. They're the ones that are in the field with you that we have spoken of before. They keep you out of chance, dear ones. There are those who still say, I'm in a turkey shoot, as they say in my partner's country. That is, I'm rolling the dice every day I step out of the house and anything could happen to me. Not if you're in touch with your guides. Not if you understand the purpose of angelic purpose, the reason you're here. These guides are the ones that often keep you safe, but not unless you acknowledge that it's possible or that they're there. Why is that, Kryon? Why do we have to do things in order to activate, if you want to say that, the guides? And here's the answer. You have free choice not to. Did you hear that? All your life, if you want to ignore all of them and do your best, when you come back across the veil, we're going to have the same party for you as the one who engaged them when they were 4. 4 years old. Do you hear that? That's no judgment. There is no judgment. But there is opportunity. And that is for those who want to understand that there is love when you come here. And they come with you. I want to paint another picture. I've done it so often before. I want to paint a picture. Here you are on this planet, doing the best you can to survive. Trying your best, perhaps, to be a compassionate individual. Trying to dodge that which you call chance. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're a victim of the energy all around you because perhaps things don't go well. And here are guides who are sitting looking at you doing nothing because you've never greeted them. You've never said thank you. You've never said, I want you to help guide me. I want you to push my intuition. I want you to help me listen. You've never done it. Perhaps because you've been told they don't exist, or that's silly, or that you have to trust in something else, or perhaps there's a prophet, or perhaps you've been told you can't even talk to God. Somebody else has to do it for you. All of those things get in the way of this perception that you have come in with divinity. But because you have free choice, nothing's going to happen until you activate that. Activating means that you sit again and say, I want you in my life. You're real. I believe it. Thank you for loving me. Can you imagine the love they have for you to watch you flail around, believe what you want to, and all that time, figuratively, they have their hand out saying, take my hand, just do it. Don't you feel us? Don't you understand? Don't believe anyone else but your own core energy. Drop into your heart and see if what you've been told is right, and we will come in if you wish. All your life, they may sit there with their hand out, perhaps to your last breath. That's how much they love you. They never give up. They never give up. They're always there because that's why they're with you. They come with you. Did you know that there's a meeting between all of you before you step into the wind of birth and you come here that says, this time, please, feel us. Don't believe everything you're told. Follow your heart. Believe us. And let us then help guide all the things to take you into the good places where there are no potholes. And intuition will help you meet the right partners and people so there'll be a lot less of the issues that perhaps you had the last lifetime. Let this be a lifetime of beauty, no betrayal, of compassion and love and good things. That's why they're here. There's so much love. Your guides, your angels are real. They even have your name on them, the name we sing in light that you have. They belong to you. There is a system, dear ones, of love. There is a connection with the love of the Creator, and part of it comes in with you, always with you, waiting for you to acknowledge it so you can move on into a divine reality that you deserve as your lineage of an old soul. I wouldn't tell you these things unless they were real. There's no reason to sell you something when you already have it. I am just telling you to take it. See for yourself if it's real or not. Open that beautiful, beautiful area that will flow into that which is your mind and your heart with a grander truth, perhaps, than you've ever been told. That's why I'm here. I'm here to give you information, perhaps that you've not heard before, that is for you, that is loving, very loving. It's not a doctrine we're asking you to follow. It's love we're asking you to follow, the love of God. I'm crying in love with humanity, continuing to give these lessons so that some of you will have a life change and understand that you're always loved and you're never alone. And so it is.
And as we continue that beautiful love connection, I'd like to ask you to connect in with your body so that you can bring your awareness back into your body. And if you've had those eyes of yours closed, I invite you to open your eyes, and we're going to continue this love connection by having a conversation with an incredibly unique woman on the planet. She combines astrology and psychology. How amazing is that? And her name is Debra Silverman, and I want to make sure that she's there on the Zoom feed. So, Debra, are you there?
Here I am.
So wonderful. Well, Lee, we want to tell everyone about Debra.
Yes, we do. When Debra Silverman was just 20 years old, she met an astrologer who blew her mind and changed her world forever. She had officially been introduced to the world of astrology. It was then that she realized the stars in her own world had aligned just right, and she had found her life's purpose.
So Debra went on to deeply study the mind and body. She earned a bachelor's degree in psychology and dance from York University and a master's degree in clinical psychology from Antioch University. Now, over the past 40 years of professional experience and private practice, she has specialized in helping thousands of individuals achieve emotional health and wisdom based on their unique personalities, and this is the part that I love, using the 4 elements: water, air, earth, and fire.
Debra has developed a unique psychological spiritual model, combining her expertise in esoteric, soul-centered astrology with her extensive education in psychology to help those going through major life changes, especially those in crisis. What makes Debra different is not only her honest and direct style, but her fun. She's fun and non-traditional way that she breathes new life into an ancient practice.
Now, her goal is to connect with you on a deeper level and to help you heal while making you laugh at yourself and just accept yourself exactly how you are. So already I am in. I am with you, Debra. Welcome to our program. And I want to begin by asking, why do you call yourself a yoga maniac?
I think that's so funny that you even know that. I am a yoga maniac. I am a very strong devotee to the body. And you just described it. I was a dancer for my whole beginning of my life, and I've never left that behind. So yoga is my way to honor the temple and keep my channels open and practice discipline around meditation and knowing how to breathe. And it just seems to me yoga maniac's a funny way to put it. It does create like yoga maniac, but it's kind of true.
I love that because it means you really are in love with your body.
Yes.
I am.
Yeah.
It's a perfect combination. Tell us how all this happened. We love to start at that.
Well, I was very young. I was 10 years old looking through the Detroit comic section in the Detroit News. What was that? And I suddenly saw an article about astrology, and you could write to them and get a chart sent. This is like in the 60s, because I'm way older than I look, 1960s. This was like probably I was 10, so it was like 65 years old, something. And I literally wrote away. It came with the wrong birth date because I was so little and I didn't know how to return it. But that was the beginning of my fascination. Fast forward, by the time I finished high school, I knew every kid in the school. To this day, I have a ridiculous memory of all my friends' charts. I just began as a natural interest. And then as you described at 20, I had the first reading and I was like, wait, you know me better than my mom knows me. And I began the fascination and went on to graduate school to do research on astrology and psychology and found out that Carl Jung was an astrologer. And he was quoted to say, psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology. So I was like, pick me, pick me. And ever since then, I have been teaching it, writing about it, reading about it, studying everyone I meet, asking the waitress at the restaurant what her chart is. And I'm a little obsessed. More than yoga, I'm obsessed with astrology.
I love that. And how does the elements of the earth play into it? Because I am definitely intrigued.
It's the centerpiece of Egyptian wisdom, of the Hawaiian. I studied hula for many years. The four directions are in the American Indian system. The four noble truths are with the Buddhists. Every ancient culture had elders that were speaking to the sanctification of creation. In the tarot deck, the very first card is the magician, and he has four elements sitting on his table. So without the elements, we wouldn't create, we wouldn't exist. You can't live without water. You can't live without air. You can't live without food, earth, and you can't live without the fire of the sun. So how we neglected to honor the creative powers that come to us in the most primitive and ancient ways is a puzzle to me. So I've been obsessed with those four elements in my book, The Missing Element, which is the subtitle, Compassion for the Human Condition, is understanding your personality type based on the elements and then saying, you guys, we got to get balanced. It's like four wheels in a car. If one element's down, the car can't drive. So I've been teaching people for, it's actually 45 years, how to reinvent or reestablish your relationship, like go back to what we forgot to study, which is these four principles in your body, in your life, in your psychology, in your day. And I've seen great results.
Oh, yeah.
People come back to the holy, to the sacred, to the ability for us to say, what is the power of creation? And can I be an assistant? Can I be an agent of healing? Because if I learn those four elements, I turn into a magician.
You know, it appears to me, and what is not really clear in the bio is that you've combined three things. You've combined the wisdom of the elders, the planet, as well as psychology, as well as astrology, to paint what I will call a bigger picture than I think any of us have seen before. This has got to be an amazing work.
Yeah, and we have a school where people come twice a year. The doors open. It's called Applied Astrology. And within 6 weeks, even if you have never believed in astrology or you've been studying for years, it's a 6-week class. And at the end, people fall in love with themselves right in front of me. It's like a love story.
I love that. I would love to have an example, if you have one, of someone who, as you said, they're very skeptical about astrology, and given your obsession with it and your deep understanding with it, I'd love to hear those stories of someone who didn't really believe it and you shared some information and what transformed.
So I have this great example because she started to work for us. So when she came to the first class, she's very shy, a little bit self-conscious, understated. I took one look at her chart, looked at her, and I was like, you have so much fire in your chart and you're pretending to be a little shy over there. Now I'm not going for it. So let's change that story. So she got the homework of activating her fire. Within the end of the 6 weeks, she lost all this weight. Her husband wrote me. He was like, what did you do? Because she'd been playing this game in astrology. We see the blueprint and the promise you've made. Somewhere you left something behind, or you didn't know how to activate your own natural rhythm. So I give them the code just by looking at the chart as a simple beginning with the elements, as you described, and then their whole life force comes back. In her case, she has really become an advocate and an astrologer and one of our mentors. And I watched her being this really inhibited, not being able, and then suddenly she showed up. So that's one example. Then there's the opposite, someone who's playing the game of being a really outward personality type. But I look at the chart and I'm like, what? You're a meditator. You're playing a game of pretending. And by the way, you're going to run out of chi and you're going to get burnout because you're not being authentic. And when he discovered that he was a meditator, he became this rich wisdom source rather than this pretend game of Mr. Cheerleader Salesman. And he went into an entirely different career.
I love that.
There's lots of questions this brings up, but there's one that's hiding. And that's one, and it's not anywhere in your bio at all, and that is, how do you feel joy fits into all of this?
Well, that's my middle name. I mean, I'm the president of the Jews for Joy Club, and I have no members because when you're raised the way I was raised, it was like, oi, the whole time. So I had to recalibrate, rechange my thought process. So joy is what happens when you're your authentic self. It may not be overt joy. Not everyone. I have a lot of fire, but it may be contentment. It may be calm. It may be practicality. It may be writing, like whatever your joy is that you left behind becomes very obvious by looking at the chart. So people are always saying to me all the time, I don't know why I'm here. This planet doesn't seem to fit for me. I'm with the wrong people. I'm like, well, you've got to first get a relationship with you and you at the divine level. And then you remember. And then as soon as the memory comes back, joy is always sitting, waiting, when you're in your juice, when you're in your chi. And I'm headed towards 70. I feel like I've got more energy now than I've ever had because I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing.
I love that. Have you come across people where they do want to have a reading with you, but they can't give you their birth date, or there's only some specifics? How do you manage that?
We have someone on our team who is skilled in what's called rectification. So if any of you are interested in readings, I don't personally do readings, but I've trained about 25 women on my site, and I look at your chart. I do matchmaking. I look at your chart, I look at her chart, and I connect the two. And if you don't have your birth time, that's a very easy fix on our team, because one woman is a genius at being able to look at the life experiences and then work backwards and put the chart in place.
I love that. So that is wonderful news for anyone tuning into this who have always thought, I don't have my birth date, so therefore I can't get my astrology chart. And so you've just answered that. That is fabulous. What kind of workshops that can people do with you?
So the school has 2 times in the year, as I mentioned, September and January, and that is a wait list that you get on. And then when it comes time for the class, there's only 10 people in the room. It's on a Zoom call. There's 10 women or men who have charts in front of them. And the mentor and I looked at your chart before the class started, and I say, in that case I gave you, she has lots of fire. Do not get discouraged by her playing shy. So we are prepared before you get there to facilitate your reemergence or your remembering. So there's the school, and then there's classes all through the year. I give away a lot of free material. There's a program called Come Study You, where we have all kinds of archives, everything from an astrology library that I sell to a class on the progressed moon where a beginner can learn what the cycles are. And then it goes all the way to my very favorite love, which is called Tell Me a Story, tmas.co, where I teach people in a writing class. And this one I do teach, where you're telling your story in the name of the elements, and I turn on your observer. This is the most powerful tool of all of astrology, where you step back and watch yourself from the observer's point of view, which is your soul. And suddenly you fall in love, like, oh, no wonder I had that story. And your stories begin to feed the karma, and we get to understand, what did you come to learn?
I love the love of self part of all of this. It all fits in to so much of what we teach.
Why else are we here?
Here's a question that I think that you're going to like to answer as well. And that is that when we are, Monica and I are very attached to the indigenous of all over the planet, and we've been to so many and sat at their feet and listened to their wisdom. There is something that they have told us now for some time, and that a shift is coming. And now we are in that shift, according to their tables, according to what we say. How do you feel about that?
Well, as an astrologer, I knew this was coming. The very first chapter of my book is called Crisis, and it describes that crisis is what wakes us up. So nothing's wrong. The astrologer has seen a long view, and we've seen feast and famine when you do a long view. So rather than getting caught in, yes, we are in a very particular era. As an astrologer, it would be dishonest for me not to tell you that my entire podcast, the I Don't Believe in Astrology podcast that started 2 days ago, is scientists, all kinds of climate scientists that I've interviewed to say, tell me the hard truth. Let me be face to face with the facts. And then there's a whole bunch of people who are wisdom keepers to say, what do you do with the hard truth? So as an astrologer, yes, we are headed straight into a brick wall, let's be honest. And the good news is there's a way to enter into awareness, get off that car, sit still, become the wisdom keeper that is the one that facilitates the midwife of how we're going to make this transition. So we're either going to crash, or we're going to be prepared, as all midwives and all wisdom keepers know. Yes, all the indigenous knew. They've gone through it themselves. It's just called evolution. It's nothing wrong. But we've projected, oh, it's all the men's fault. Oh, it's all the women's fault. Oh, it's all the car's fault. It's the fault of evolution. And by the way, it serves us. So please don't be confused with something's wrong.
Thank you.
So how can we then navigate, as you said, to become a wisdom keeper or a midwife to help us make that transition with grace and ease instead of the hard angst that it creates for some people?
So for you two, clearly you're doing air. You've got a podcast or a video or a series of films where you're showing us on YouTube and you're sharing information. That's air. For some of us, For air people, it's talking, it's communicating, it's researching, it's collecting data. For the water people, they're meditators and they don't want to be around people. They just want to figure out how to find the calm, how to reach a place of enlightenment that's called stillness, and through yoga and through chanting and through knowing how to be a householder. For some people, they're earth people, they're activists, and they're like, we've got to get the figure eight of how to do legislation. What are we going to do to facilitate the end of this carbon, to the changing of the weather? There's some practical steps. And the earth people, it's you. If it's calling you to take some steps to plant some trees, do it. And the fire people are the yoga maniacs, the enthusiasts, the energetic crazy people that are here to figure out how to master energy in the name of healing. And if you are one of those, you're inspirational. You stand in front of people. You take us out for walks. You take us on bike rides. So we all have different functions. The good news is everyone's got a function. The bad news is what's yours. And if you don't know how to serve and facilitate this era, you might want to ask an astrologer for some insight.
It's so interesting. We actually teach that, and we have had in different ways that there are different kinds, and they fit right into those categories. I never really heard that about an air person. I'm an air person. What are you? Do you know?
I always thought I was a fire person, but...
Yes, fire and air are perfect together. You're inspiring us through his words and through your inspiration. So fire and air people get all excited and share, and they go on screens, and they put lights on, and they're like, I'm here to help you. And the water person's at home watching this going, oh, I feel so much better. And the earth person's like, we need some function here. I'll take care of it. I'll produce that new idea.
It also explains why Lee has never really wanted to just sit and meditate for hours and hours. For him, it's like, I can't do that.
Don't meditate. Mm-hmm. Air people get bugged by being told to sit still, but they can walk and meditate.
Yeah.
And they can listen to a guided meditation, but you can't ask an air person to sit still.
I meditate best on airplanes.
Bingo.
Yeah, I can't because it makes me sit. Well, it makes me sit still.
But you're up in the air.
You have a book. I love the title because we have thought this too. The Missing Element: Inspiring Compassion for the Human Condition. Tell us about that one.
It's all about the four elements, and it's all about the crisis we're in. It starts off with the first chapter saying, we cannot continue as we're going. Society is going to go into a radical change. I love when Lynn Twist on Choosing Earth, the documentary, looked right into the camera and said, we are now meant to be midwives because we're in hospice. Mm-hmm. Like we're at the end of an era. It's hard to talk about. It hurts unless you're prepared. And my book is simply there to establish, get missing element, figure it out, short little test, open up the chapter of your missing element, do the homework, balance the game, and suddenly your chi's back.
One of the things you talked about is the elders, and I love that you've mentioned the Indigenous and just how connected they have been with the cycles that we're in. That respect for elders, I think there's going to be this new wave of where we come to respect them more. How do you see that unfolding?
I think you two are elders. From what I can see here, it looks like you two are elders. We never get named elders. It comes with the territory of growing up. And if you become responsible, my question every day from the minute I wake up till I go to bed is, who can I serve today? Mm-hmm. How can I create this planet's evolution? Mm-hmm. I did not come here because I like this place. I love it, but it hurts me here. I'm not the person that goes, I love being alive. For me, this place is very, very painful. And yet I've turned the joy button way up in the answer to what could I do to serve. So I am an elder. I'm headed towards that. I've certainly passed the marker. I just got Social Security. What's it called? Medicare or something in America. It's such a weird thing. But the truth is, I was an elder at a very young age. And all that is a being who values the sacred, who knows this planet is a place to pray over your food and to go to bed with a prayer and to remember your dreams and to keep your heart open at all costs and to never stop asking, who can I serve? I don't care how old you are. If you've got that premise at the front of your consciousness, then your whole life is an example of a radiant, vibrational delight. And that's what we're missing. And that's what will help us through this transition.
Oh, thank you so much for redefining elder for us. I love that definition.
We do that as well, saying that there's a lot of young people we meet that are old souls. Yes. And we see that elder wisdom.
The deep wisdom within.
Deep in them. And it's recognizable.
Yeah. I have a question for you, because one of the things when we do live meetings, which we do less than what we did before COVID, but we still go and meet beautiful family when they come for the gatherings. And for some, there is a little frustration because they come together with this group, and then when they leave, they feel isolated because their awakening has kind of removed them from people around them. So do you have any messages or help that you can help for those who feel isolated?
It's such a beautiful question. You just need one best friend. All you need is one person to help you regenerate or give you back your life force. It could be on the phone. And then you fill up your cup and you just keep giving. We don't need to be having others echo or say we love you because you're the spiritual person. We just need to be the givers. So I ask everyone when they ask that question, who are you giving to? What are you creating? Are you planting any flowers? Are you planting any trees? All of that is your job, to be the one in your community that lights it up. And then have one person you can call to go, my light's getting dim. And they go, no, I love you, Debbie. Oh, that's right. Thank you. So just make sure you've got someone. It could be your dog. It could be the neighbor. It could be your best friend across the country that you know is going to energize and vitalize your enjoyment because you're in love.
I have a question also that I'm interested in how people think. And, that's the psychologist in me. Whatever brought you to the aha moment when you said these things go together?
I have to say, because, as an astrologer, people come to see me for years and years saying, what am I here to do? I never had to ask that question. From a very young age, I knew I'd be a therapist. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was on fire about seeing I was nosy, to tell the truth. And then the astrology was like candy to me, like, wait a minute, that makes total sense. So very quickly they got married, and it became obvious that my destiny was pushing me around from behind. So I can't point to one event, but I can tell you that I woke up very young in the dentist chair with nitrous oxide, where I came out of my body and I was given a directive that said, this is an illusion. Decide right now what you want to believe. And I came down and told my mom and told the dentist, and they were like, huh? I was like, everything's not what you think it is. And from that moment on, I've been able to maintain a lightness that has given me the gift of openness and receptivity. And that's how I found my destiny, was listening.
Wow. We could do a whole section on that, right? Just, learn to listen. Oh my.
That's so key. And so
Yeah.
I want to ask, what are your tips for how we can get better at learning to listen?
You guys are so good. You're asking such good questions. I have tattooed on my arm the word listen and silent have the same letters. In order to listen, you have to be silent. There needs to be, I spend a lot of time in nature. Mm-hmm. My doctor just told me I had the highest vitamin D count he'd ever seen because I'm outside every day in prayer. I would say the deepest way to listen is to keep the body clean. I eat really well. I drink a lot of water. I keep my system as a vehicle, as a vessel open. And that's hard to do because our planet is so painful. We eat and we drink and we indulge and we do sugar and we do coffee. We do everything we can to distract the discomfort. So the first lesson in listening is sitting still enough to be uncomfortable and not move away and keep praying, help me to hear. And if you do that practice, every day, since I was a 20-year-old, I've said, let this day be the day that I offer a blessing. What can I do to serve you? And I've practiced that. So if you can't, because the dramas of your life or your mental body's so distracted or your body's in physical pain, then you just do your prayer to say, please, I want to be of service. The angels are watching. They'll find you.
I love that prayer that you said. And there's another part where some people who are new to this, where they do the prayer, they do the meditation, they feel so good. And then they walk through the door and their teenager is at them or their boss is at them, and all of that has dispelled. And what we teach is about taking that with you and pasting it upon yourself. So what do you have for people to carry that feeling no matter what is happening?
Well, there's a muscle called the observer. This is what my book is about. This is what Tell Me a Story is about. This is what my school is about. When your observer's on and you notice, wow, I just lost it. The guy cut me off on the road and I gave him oh, that wasn't very spiritual. And then my observer comes in and goes, Deb, and it has no judgments. It's not mad at me. It's just going, oh, you looked a little hot right there. And then you get to reclaim it without judging. Now, if you can make that muscle of your observer, which is all I teach in every class I do, strong, this is what Tell Me a Story is about, then all of a sudden, right when the crisis happens or the drama happens, right after, because you can't bypass the human condition. You're going to get angry. You're going to get pissed off. And so you should. You're going to cry. You're going to be hurt. It's welcome to planet Earth. And then here comes the observer. And I've gotten really good at it now. So good that sometimes I got to say, can you leave me alone? But when the observer becomes a muscle you can count on, then in the middle of that teenager screaming after you got all upset, and so you should have, you finish and you say, I'm so sorry. I totally lost it. And there's a smile. And the way you know your observer's on is it becomes kind of cute.
I've had instances where I've caught myself I'm mad, and I've caught myself being mad, and it's like, but I don't want to just give up this mad just yet. Like, I hold on to it until I'm ready to release it.
It's very important not to bypass, because then you've abandoned your human in the name of some concept. You must walk through the human. Being heartbroken, being depressed, being anxious. These are real human components that I celebrate. That's what the therapy is about. And then once you are welcoming it without resistance, I mean, it happens to me every day. I don't care how spiritual you think you are. The shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. I mean, he cried too. It's a human nature impulse. And we must get angry and sad and frustrated. And then the question is, how quick does my observer come on, and do I comfort myself and return to center? That's really the question we should be asking.
How beautiful. And share with us how you comfort yourself.
You know, it's embarrassing because I do require to cry, and I do use beautiful smells and flowers, and I do use the visual world, and I'm outside every day on an electric bike from 1 to 3 hours a day, where I take deep breaths and I say to myself, Debra, you're having the best day. I've had to nail into that little psyche of mine that this was a free will choice. Nobody pushed you on the bus. You came here as a volunteer. Now you remember that. And then I get it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, right. And I do my practice. I let my emotional body have a ride. I let my bicycle have a ride. I find my lover. I find my dog. I'm like, who wants to love me today?
I love that. Who wants to love me today? What a beautiful way to start up with. So let's put it out there. Everyone listening right now, ask that. Who wants to love me today? And why wouldn't they?
I mean, we've covered so many pearls of wisdom.
Absolutely.
But we're running out of time, and I would like to, what would you have to share to our viewers?
Just don't think something's wrong. This was a perfectly designed organization, said the astrologer, with a divine mastery beyond your mind's understanding. The mind is not to be relied on. Your heart is. And if your heart's closed, or it feels crispy, or you're feeling dulled, there's a way to polish it and heal it. Everything is healable with your observer, with your prayers, and with videos like this.
Absolutely. So I want to mention Debra, your website. It's debrasilvermanastrology.com. Now, it's there in the chat for those of you watching the live stream. And if you're watching this as a replay, there will also be a link there for debrasilvermanastrology.com. But I'm sure you have lots of videos on YouTube as well. And for those who want to do those amazing applied astrology waitlist classes, there's appliedastrology.me, appliedastrology.me for going on and doing those things. So I am so delighted that we got to have this opportunity to play together. I love your humor. I love your joy. And it's true. Your joy factor is out the roof, and so it should be.
I don't want to say goodbye.
Yeah, let's not.
I mean, let's just keep her here and play with her.
Beautiful service to the world to provide such profound. You obviously did your homework, and you're good listeners, and thank you so much for all that you do.
Well, we believe that joy is one of the best medicines, and we truly believe it changes lives and keeps us younger.
Absolutely.
Actually. And in addition to all the things that are also taught about it, being a balancer. So thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to come.
Yeah. Okay, so we're now going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll see you back here for the Circle of 12.
Welcome back, everyone. And thank you, Debra, for everything that you've given us. I love the fact that we can have these kinds of specialists on our show, especially of the high caliber. And we're going to continue having as many of these as we can. I'm just always impressed, and I'm learning things all the time. I've been doing this for a long time, and I am learning so much.
I am too. And I think that's, if we can always carry that sense of awe and wonder and discovery of things that we didn't know, then we're always going to be timeless and ageless, aren't we?
Yeah, and I also love what she's done with some basic astrology and how she's extended it and melded it and made sense in other areas.
And psychology. I mean, you wouldn't think psychology and astrology go together, but wow, what an amazing lady. Thank you again, Debra. So I want to remind everyone tuning into this program that it is all about healing. That's why we've called it Healing Wednesday. And right now, what we'd like to do is something that we're calling miracle moments. Because there are many right now who need a miracle in their life, in whatever form that they need it. They're wanting some kind of healing or miracle to take place.
And we are inviting you to participate in this week's Miracle Moments, where all of us can come together to help others and ourselves. I'd like to ask Monica to further explain how this works, and we know that together we can create the right energy at the right time for all of those ready to receive it.
So in our members portal, there is a place where they can submit a request for healing energy or prayers. But regardless of whether you're a member or not, we're inviting all of you in this moment to connect together as a group so that we can send energy, compassion and love to all those who are requesting our help. And perhaps you are included in that, where you would like to receive some healing energy or some compassion and love. So we're going to generate it from that divine spark that exists inside. And as we're sending that out, we're also receiving it. It's like this infinity loop, this wave of love that gets generated out, and it comes straight back to you. And if you are having trouble visualizing this, I encourage you to just get pen and paper out and place a little dot which represents you. And then around your dot, I invite you to place other dots which represent all the multitude of beautiful souls out there requesting help. And if you start drawing some big circles around all of those dots, you're going to find that there is overlapping circles, because our soul is enormous and it's overlapping with all the other souls. And when that soul overlaps with another soul, all of a sudden you can reach and touch someone miles and kilometers away from you. They're not even sitting next to you, and yet that enormous soul energy of yours that is radiating out is already touching so many other souls. And I invite you to just feel into that connection that is occurring right now. And we are all holding together in our soul energy. And in the soul energy, it is just radiating peace, tranquility, love, compassion, joy, and even laughter. So feel those movement of joy and laughter and bubbles of love flowing out until we have a field of giggling vibrations, loving and supporting each other. And from this place of giggling love and anticipation, let's now receive the beautiful messages from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon. come a little closer. The circle of 12 is a healing circle. This is why it was created, and not just for the body, the healing of the mind. If you discover a truth that was there all along, but that you never knew, is that a form of healing? If you discover joy when you never had it, where all your life there was always something wrong, where you never really saw any light at any beginning of any tunnel. In fact, you were born, you would say, in the tunnel and never got out. This is so common for so many. And if you recovered from that, somehow if you rewrote that, and it was joyful and peaceful, and there was no worry, let me ask you, would that be a healing? And the answer is, oh yes. To many, that's their miracle. To move out of a condition of depression, perhaps. To move out of a feeling of victimization, perhaps. So common. It's a relief. It's a rescue, some say. And it's so available, as we've told you from the beginning. The circle of 12 is an exercise, a meditation. And if it's the first time that you have heard this, or perhaps the first time you're here, let me just say it's a journey into self. It's part of discovery of self. It's a paradigm that's different. It's a meditation that helps you to walk across a bridge from the known to the unknown in your mind, a metaphor. Walking across that bridge is a symbol that you're going from one place to another, of course, but the place you're going to is a place not only you've never seen, but you didn't think you could go. And that's right into your own soul, dear ones. This is a special journey. It's not for everyone. It's a journey that can be as real as the chair you're sitting in. It's not pretend. It's not really even a visualization. This is something that you can do. The difficulty is always the same. The first part of the difficulty is, I was told I can't do it. You may have even been told by metaphysical people that you can't do that, because it is something that has never been available. And we'll say again, there is a change. Haven't you felt it? In this planet. Right now, even as I speak to you, the very things I told you to look for are happening. That the darkness, that history of war and all the things that your grandfathers experienced is trying to be revisited on your planet. And you get to see it. And you go, really? Really? Is that truly happening? We told you to look for it. That those that are negative, those who represent the history of a dark energy, will do their best to pull you back, because, dear ones, this planet is headed in another direction. It's headed in light. We told you that. There will be some who will hear this and say, where have you been? Kryon, under a rock somewhere? We're not headed for life. Take a look at light. Take a look what's happening. I'll tell you what I said before. If you haven't heard it, listen up. When the light comes out, the darkness shows itself. You turn on a bright light, all the dirt shows. And that's what's going on right now. It wouldn't have happened unless it was threatened. The dark does not do anything different than it always has, because it's always been in control. Why show itself now? It's showing itself to the whole planet. There's ugliness in war, sorrow, horror, death. Just about like 1944, 43, 42. It's all here. Just about the same kinds of things you saw on those newsreels you're seeing today. That, I tell you, that energy wants to reassert itself. So you won't then decide you don't want war anymore, or decide that you'd all like to come together and make sure there's no war anymore. That's why the planet is objecting, dear ones. That's the light I'm talking about. So I'm not telling you something that's a Pollyanna story. I'm telling you something I actually predicted for you. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're in a step back now, it seems, but dear ones, that's only because you're shining the light. This circle of 12 is new. It's new because you're in a shift of consciousness that's already starting to show itself on this planet. And that's why we now take you to a place that perhaps no one told you could ever go to before, your soul. And we go across a bridge and we walk into special rooms and places that are all metaphors for pieces and parts of your divinity or your mind. We've gone so many places in this last year and a half with this, all these episodes. It's time to revisit some of them, perhaps with a different twist. We're going to set a precedent for all 4 Circle of 12s this month. What I want you to do there that's a little different than it ever was before. Be ready. If you wish to participate in this Circle of 12, when we cross that bridge, be ready. Be ready for something beautiful, not something odd. If you want something odd, you're in the wrong place. Because when you stop thinking that way and understand that is the more divine you become, the more you learn about you. And that's not odd. That's love. Built for love, you were. The image of love, you are. And as you get into self-discovery, it starts to show itself very, very positively. That you are in a place for you. It's a safe place. Let's go there now. I invite you, like I always have, to go across this bridge with me. You're not alone. Let's go together and find out what's there again for you today. Take my hand. This is the most beautiful part. Take my hand, come through this mist that obfuscates such beautiful things you've never seen. Some have even said it's like crossing the veil that you've always been told can't be crossed unless you're dead, and you're not. You are very much alive right now, looking perhaps at something you needed to see. The beauty of you. The beauty of you. We've often gone here in this place, in this Circle of 12, and there's a theater to go to or some other rooms. We'll go to the theater again. Let's go to the theater again. This time it's a bit different. It may seem like we've been there before and done this before. We may do that. We may have some total repeat experiences because they're beautiful and you need them. There's so many who say, why don't you repeat this and repeat that? And I ask you why. And you say, because I loved that and I felt certain things. And my question to you is, well, since you felt them, why do you need to feel them again? That's a funny question you might ask. But dear ones, we're multidimensional here. When something happens, we feel that it happens forever. For you often have to revisit it time and time again in order to keep it, without the idea that perhaps, just perhaps, you can take it home with you. Welcome to a new Circle of 12 for these 4 times this month. I want you to go to that theater again with me right now. Let's go into that door that has your name on it that you can never read because it's in light language. It's you. Everything in this place is you. It's a metaphor because you are looking at it with linear eyes. If you have the power of super visualization, you still won't be able to figure it out. So I want you to visualize whatever it is that makes you happy here. You're walking into that joy place for you. The place that is the most comfortable place. I'll say it again. As a human, you're visiting. This is your home, and your home is built for you. That's your soul. Going into the theater, go through that door into the theater, go and take a look at that theater in the round where there are seats all around, and you have to go down into the audience and climb onto the stage in order for you to then be there on stage. How does that make you feel to go onto any stage? And you might say, well, I'm a bit uncomfortable, Kryon, to be on stage at all. That's quite funny. That stage you're on, that's your core. That's why it's a stage. Did you ever figure that out? Circle of 12 listeners, have you ever realized that's your core? That's where you would always be. That's your stage for you, where everything is brought to you. That's where you go from your stage. That's where the wind of birth goes. That's where you have the conferences where you decide to meet when you're born. Their souls are there as well. It's a complicated idea, isn't it? That you might have chosen your own parents. We have talked about that as well. Today, you're going to do something that we've done before. The audience starts to light up, and there are so many in front of you. It doesn't wrap around totally behind you because these are specific entities, if you wish to call them. They are ones of the past of this planet, and they all have something in common. The first thing they have in common is they know your soul. That may be odd to you, because on this planet, you only know certain people, and the important ones perhaps are beyond your reach. When you're in your soul stage, everything that has ever existed is together and knows you well, and knows why you're there. The master healers of the planet sit in the chairs where you are. You're on stage, they're in the chairs, and they're looking at you. We have been here before. This is different. One by one, they're going to honor you. And they're going to come up on the stage one at a time. And you'll say, well, how long is that going to take? It's going to take a fraction of a second if you're in a multidimensional place where there is no time. Don't worry about how long it's going to take. Think of them all coming together, if you wish, one at a time together. And they're going to touch you. Perhaps you'll have your hands out ready for them to hold them, and they will pass to you whatever is their specialty. Whether it's the beauty of joy and humor, whether it's the gift of healing of the chemistry in your body, healing of disease perhaps. They're all specialists. Some of them are specialists in doing the same thing, and they do it differently. But each one wants to touch you. And they want to do it now. And you might say, well, I don't have that much time. What if I told you they all just did? That's what we're doing. We're making this a multidimensional experience, but this one is different. This one is different. Every single time one touches you, a little wrapped gift will appear at your feet. And as they come and they go, for just a moment or two, that they're going to touch you and pass these beautiful things, and touch you and pass these beautiful things. Every single one of them is going to create a little wrapped present, and it's at your feet. Soon you're going to have many presents at your feet. Here's what I want you to picture. When this is finished, and it can be finished in a moment and a half. What's a half a moment? It's half of a whole moment. When they're done, all of those gifts will be at your feet, stacked high. What are you going to do with that? You're going to pass your hand over all of those gifts that were given to you in love, and they're going to go into your core. And that means they disappear into your human body. And at that moment, you can come home. Back to the chair that you call the Circle of 12 chair that you're watching from right now. All of that belongs to you, stays with you, and you never have to go to that stage again if you don't want to, because it has returned with you. Now you have to sort it out and say, is it real? Is it not real? Are they there for you? Or is it just pretend? And I will tell you a truth. You have manifested the healing you've asked for in so many ways. It's all there. Unwrap each one of those if you wish. Do ceremony, meditation if you wish, and paste them upon your chemistry, because they all belong to you, given to you at the soul level by the ancestors of this planet who know your name today. Think about it. Stay. Why don't you just stay and think about that? Why would they know your name? Perhaps you're just a little bigger than you think. You're here to be healed today. I'm crying in love with humanity. And so it is.